All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that sounds almost like a spy movie plot. How does a simple job offer on, say, LinkedIn turn into a massive billion-dollar security breach? I'm telling you, this isn't science fiction. It's happening right now, and it's blowing right past the kinds of security most companies rely on.
It all starts so normally. Just imagine one of the developers on your team gets a message from a recruiter. The job seems amazing, totally legitimate. As part of the process, they're asked to do a quick coding challenge, which means, just installing a small package. But that little package, it's a Trojan horse. And just like that, before they even know anything is wrong, their cloud credentials have been stolen, and an attacker has a wide open backdoor into your entire cloud infrastructure.
So that's really the big question we're digging into here. How does that one single, seemingly harmless message on a social media site completely dismantle a company's cloud security? Let's break it down.
Okay, so this first part of the attack, we're calling it the Trojan job offer. It is the perfect bait, and man, is it effective. This brings us to the core idea, the IAM pivot. Now, IAM, that's identity and access management. It's basically the rule book for who gets to do what in your cloud. And this attack, see, it's not about smashing through firewalls. It's about quietly stealing legitimate credentials, like a developer's AWS keys, and then using those keys to pivot and take over the entire rulebook from the inside. And this is exactly why your existing security might be totally blind to it. Think about it. The attack doesn't come through a corporate email where you've got all your fancy filters. Nope. It starts on LinkedIn or WhatsApp. It uses common developer tools like NPM packages to deliver the payload. By the time that malicious code actually runs, it's already completely sidestepped your traditional defenses. But look, this isn't just some clever theory. The scale of this is just staggering. It's created what you can only call a multi-billion-dollar blind spot for security teams. $2 billion. Yeah, you heard that right. That's how much money has been linked to just one of these adversary groups that's mastered this technique. And they've done it mostly by targeting and draining cryptocurrency companies. This is a highly profitable criminal enterprise running like a business. And they're getting incredibly organized. Research from CrowdStrike shows that what used to be a single group has now specialized. It's like they have different departments. They've got units focused purely on crypto, others going after fintech, and even some that are just dedicated to espionage. They've literally industrialized the process of turning a job offer into a company-wide compromise. And here's the really crucial point. Attackers don't always need some wild zero-day exploit. Just look at this data from Google Cloud. Almost half of all incidents are because of weak or stolen credentials. So the bad guys aren't breaking in, they're logging in. They're basically walking right through the front door with a key you didn't even know they had. So how does this actually work step by step? Let's really dissect the anatomy of this thing. It really boils down to this devastatingly simple three-step process. First, there's the entry. They steal the keys, usually through that social engineering job offer. Second, the pivot. They use those legitimate keys to move around inside your cloud, hopping from one role to another, escalating their privileges. And finally, the objective. They get to the crown jewels, your data, your customers' money, or these days, your valuable AI models. And the speed is just insane. We're not talking about days or weeks. Sysdig actually documented a real attack where from the second a stolen credential was used, it took the attacker just 8 minutes to get full admin rights and then cover their tracks by turning off all the logs. 8 minutes. From login to God mode? This quote from Shane Barney at Keeper Security, it just hits the nail on the head. The really scary part isn't some crazy new hacking method. It's the total lack of resistance on the inside. Once an attacker has a valid key, there are often no tripwires, no alarms, absolutely nothing to stop them from owning the entire environment. So now let's talk about the next frontier for this kind of attack, because it's being aimed squarely at what might be the most valuable asset in your company today, your artificial intelligence. See, here's the problem with a lot of standard AI security. An AI gateway, well, it typically just checks for a valid token. If the token looks good, hey, access granted. But a newer approach, called Identity Threat Detection and Response, or ITDR, it looks at behavior. It learns what's normal. So when it sees a developer's token suddenly start doing weird stuff, like disabling logs and trying to map out all of your AI models, that's a huge red flag. It sounds the alarm, it gets the context, not just the credential.
And this is where it gets genuinely terrifying. As CrowdStrike's CTO points out, if an attacker can compromise one of your AI agents, that agent doesn't just leak some data. No, it can become an automated insider threat, using its own legitimate access to carry out the attacker's mission across your entire network, and it does it at machine speed.
Okay, so this is a really serious threat, no doubt, but it's not hopeless. Let's look at some concrete, actionable steps you can actually take to fight back.
Look, the attackers have a playbook, so you need a counter playbook. It's that simple, and it maps directly to their 3 stages. To stop their entry, you need to be able to see that credential theft happening in real time, right on the developer's workstation. To stop their pivot, you need IDTR to spot when an identity goes rogue and starts moving in ways it never has before. And to protect the objective, especially your AI, you need controls that look past the token and actually question suspicious behavior.
And that really brings us to the final, most important takeaway. The old school idea of a secure network perimeter, it's obsolete. It's gone. This fight isn't happening at the firewall anymore. It's all happening at the level of identity. So the real question you've got to ask yourself is this. Now that the perimeter is gone, is your identity security strong enough to be your new front line?